we go into our last session, I'm going to give you the 5 key things that separate average people from top people. If you'll take these 5 ideas and you'll follow them and every day work toward it, you will be great in sales.
What's it take to make a person successful? As I've worked with senior salespeople through the past 11 years, I've looked at people who are successful and people who are average, and I find that there's not a lot of difference in terms of skill or knowledge or their attitude or persistence. The difference between average and great, regardless if you're in sales, or you're the CEO of a corporation, whatever your position is fundamentally the same. Whether you're a professional athlete or professional salesperson, certain fundamental things that you do will determine whether or not you're successful. As we go through this last session, I want you to understand that if you're going to be successful and you want to make the big money that everybody wants to make, you follow these 5 steps, and if you do that and you commit yourself to it, there's nothing that you're going to do that's going to stop you from being a success. The first thing that I find that successful people have and do is they take responsibility. How important is responsibility in life? I think one of the challenges we have in our society today is we have a group of people who choose not to take responsibility. It's easy to be down and not get back up. It's easy to blame somebody else for your lack of success. But let me tell you something, folks. People who are successful come from all different economic backgrounds. They come from all different types of family backgrounds, right? They're successful not because of where they came from, but because they've taken the responsibility to be successful. There's an old adage, if it is to be, it's up to me, and I think that's so true in success. Success is a number of different things, but responsibility is a key component of this process, and that's part of what your responsibility is to your company. When your company hired you, they hired you because they believed in their hearts that you had the passion and the enthusiasm to help make them a success. Your responsibility to your company is to continue having that passion and enthusiasm. I had a person that I was talking to the other day, and they said, "You know, Bob, what's wrong with our company?" And I said, "Well, what is that?" And they said, "We don't have enough picnics. Our company needs more picnics." I said, "Well, what do picnics have to do with your company being successful?" He says, "Well, our attitude's down. We need some attitude building around here. We need some enthusiasm around here." And I looked the person in the eyes and I said, "Jane," I says, "you and your attitude are your responsibility. It's not the company's job to make sure that every day you walk in here you feel good. They hired you excited. Your job is to stay that way." And I think it's a fundamentally important thing to understand that you get paid every day to come into work excited, enthused about what you're doing, committed to making money for the organization so the organization can grow and expand. You have to take responsibility. One of the second things is discipline. People who are successful value discipline. Now, I was very, very blessed as a youth. I have a mother and a father who are fine, fine people. But I remember specifically the discipline that I had in my life, and it wasn't physical discipline, but it was the discipline to do those things that I didn't necessarily want to do. I remember when I was growing up, we had American Legion baseball, and I went out for American Legion baseball, and I'll be honest with you, in playing baseball when I was a youth, I was considered very, 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 very average. And so I spent most of my time when I was playing baseball sitting on the bench. And I remember going to my father and whining, "Dad, they're not letting me play. They're not letting me play. I want to quit." And my father said, "Son," he said, "you knew, that you were going to be playing or you were going to be a part of the team. You're part of the team. You can't quit." And I said, "Dad," I says, "but at least talk to the coach." And I remember my dad looking me dead in the eyes, and he said, "Bob," he said, "you knew he was the coach when you joined the team." He said, "Now you have to see that team through this year." And he said, "You may sit on the bench every game, right? But he said, that's part of what you have to do." He says, "Next year you may choose not to go out for baseball." But he said, "This year you're going to see it all the way through." I was blessed because I had a father who taught me the value of discipline. I became much better at making choices because I knew whatever I chose to do, I was going to have to do it. If I chose to take home ec class on a whim, I knew I was going to have to spend all semester in home ec class. I became very good at making choices. And I think that's one of the challenges we have in sales today. You guys make a commitment to your managers. You bet we're going to do this much for revenue. We're going to do this much in sales. But then you don't discipline yourself to do it. It's easy to talk, and everybody talks it out there. I don't know how many salespeople I have come up to me and says, "Bob, I want to make $100,000. Then discipline yourself to do it. Making $100,000 is a nice goal. You don't have to make $100,000 to be successful, but it's a nice goal. But you're not going to make it if you don't discipline yourself. You got to come in earlier. You got to stay later. You got to work some on Saturdays and sometimes on Sundays. If you want to make what a McDonald's fry cook makes, then you work like a McDonald's fry cook. If you want to make what a successful salesperson makes, then you have to work like a successful salesperson. You have to discipline yourself to do the things that other people simply aren't willing to do. That's how we make money in our society. We do things that other people aren't willing to do. We discipline ourselves to take the rejection. We discipline ourselves to take the criticism. We discipline ourselves to have to work the hours that we work, but we, because of that, have the ability to make lots of money. So I challenge you to discipline yourself. Think about that. Am I doing what I have to do to get where I want to go? It's easy to blame everybody else, but you've got to discipline yourself, and you've got to force yourself to do those things. The next piece is taking risks. I find that people who are successful tend to be risk takers. Now, most people think they're risk takers, but the reality of life is they don't take many risks. Most people are not willing to give up very much of what they got to get something different. And if you're going to be successful, you have to step out of the box. You have to step out of the bounds and take some risks. You have to call on people that you've never called on before. You have to try things you've never tried before. You have to go places you've never gone before. If your company says they want you to try something new, then you've got to take the risk to try it. Because if you don't take a risk, you never gain any more out of life. Most people get what they want out of life, or they get what they expect out of life, because they don't ever risk to try new things. People who are successful in life, folks, are risk takers. They're willing to step out of the box, knowing that they may get hit in the head, knowing that it may not feel good, but they're still willing to do it to try to get something better. The interesting thing about risk is, if you try to step out and get something better and you don't get it, you can always go back and get what you had. I had a person tell me one time, well, gosh, Bob, if I do that, I may lose all my money. So what? Once you know how to make money, money's not hard to make. The biggest challenge most people have in life is figuring out how to make it the first time. That's why when people make their first million, you'll find that they make the second, third, and fourth million much, much more quickly than they made their first million. But you've got to risk to do it. Let me give you an example of risk. I have a coin in my pocket. It's a quarter. It's got a head and a tail to it. It's a normal quarter. I'm going to flip this quarter in the air. If this quarter lands on heads, I will give each person in this room a $100 bill when you leave here. If it lands on tails, each of you before you leave here must give me $100. All right, how many people are interested in this? All right, I have no one. All right, a few. I've got a couple. All right, let's do it this way. If it lands on heads, I'll give you the quarter. Each one of you will get a nice shiny quarter. If it lands on tails, each one of you before you leave here have to give me a quarter. How many people are interested in that? Why? Why would you be more interested in that than the other? Don't tell me it's because of risk. The risk never changed. The risk is still what? 50-50. See, the challenge most people have in life, it's not the risk they're concerned about. It's the fact that they've already assumed they're going to lose. See, you can't go into life assuming that if you risk, you're going to lose. I was flying out to Las Vegas here a while back, and so I was on the airplane. I'm sitting next to a young lady, and we were talking, and I asked her, I said, have you ever been to Las Vegas before? And she goes, no, this is my first time. I said, oh, you're going to love it out there. Las Vegas is a wonderful, fun city. I said, well, what are you planning on doing out there? And she goes, oh, I'm going to do some gambling. She says, I brought $1,500, but once I lose that, I'm going to stop. And I said, you might as well give me the $1,500 now. I'll buy you drinks for the rest of the flight out there because you've already committed that you're going to do what? She went to Las Vegas assuming she was going to what? Lose. They build that city on people who walk out there assuming they're going to lose. Now, I've been to Vegas before, and you win some, and you lose some. Then you win a little bit more, and you lose a little bit more. The challenge is if you go out committed to lose $1,500, how much will you lose when you're done? $1,500. See, that's the trouble with life. Most people, when they go through life, go in and say, okay, I'm going to try it, but I know it probably won't work. You've already committed yourself to doing what? To knowing it won't work. You've got to understand, people, if you take a risk, you've got to assume that it's going to work. And if it doesn't work, then you do what? Go back, look at what happened, and then take another risk. Don't ever stop taking risks. People that are successful in sales are risk takers. All right? The next one is they have a plan. Now, this is so critical. People who are successful in life are planners. They have a plan. Most people in life have no plan. They just simply let life bounce them through, and when they get done, they either look and go, yeah, it wasn't a bad life, or, oh, I wish I'd have done these and these things. Right? You've got to understand, people, companies are successful because they have a plan. People are successful because they have a plan. How many people in here has ever gone on a vacation before, and as you were getting ready to go, got a map? You all have. Why do you get a map? Because you know you need a what? A plan. You need a way to plan out where you're going to go. Yet most people in life don't do any planning for themselves. If you're going to be successful in life, there's 4 areas that you need to plan in. Number 1, I believe, is financial. As a salesperson, you're going to make more money in your lifetime than most people will ever make. Unfortunately, most of us don't keep it. Most of us make it fairly easily, and we spend it fairly easily. That was one of my challenges. As a salesperson, I can make a lot of money, but in my mind, it was so easy to make, I didn't hold on to a lot of it. And so as a salesperson, it's important to meet with somebody who helps you with your finances. I always get a kick out of salespeople. Salespeople are, in their own minds, believe that their customers should work with them because they're professional and they have knowledge. Yet when they go to do things on their own, they don't look for that professional advice either. As a salesperson, you need to find a financial planner. You need to find somebody who can sit down with you and say, look, you're going to make a lot of money. We need to do something with it. You need to put a plan together for your finances. I do a lot of work in the insurance industry, and when I'm working with insurance companies, it's common knowledge that 93% of the people out there who, by the time they reach the age of 65, will have to depend upon the government or a family member to survive. That's pathetic in our society. You will make a lot of money. Learn to hold on to pieces of it. Let your money work for you. The second area you need to plan is, I believe, is spiritual. Now, I'm not here advocating any particular type of religion. I have my own beliefs. But I believe that people who are successful have a good, strong spiritual base. They know there's something more than them. They're not just here for themselves. They're here for a greater purpose. And I think that's a part of your life that you need to have in balance, too. And you need to have a plan for that. The third area, I believe, is physical fitness. We're in a business, folks, that requires tons and tons of energy, more so than it ever did when I was in sales 22 years ago. The energy need is huge because you're trying to solve everybody's problems today. When I was in sales 22 years ago, when I first got into it, I had stuff, people bought it because I was the only one that had it. I had products that were unique. There wasn't any great skill to sell 22 years ago. Selling today, I wish I could take my skill today and go back 22 years ago. I would be a multi-billionaire. Selling today is more difficult than it has ever been. And you know what it's going to be like next year? Even more difficult. Your customers are more sophisticated. The products that you handle are more and more like the products your competitors handle. It's going to be so difficult, so difficult. You're going to need a lot of energy to keep up with what's going on out there. The challenge is most people don't keep themselves in shape. How many people in here have a physical fitness program in place? How many of you, if you were to look the word up, could find it in the dictionary? Oh, Bob, I don't have one. I know I should. You've got to take care of yourselves. How many people in here could eat a Big Mac, fries, and a Coke at 55 miles an hour and not get special sauce on you? Think how many people could do it with a McRib? See, that's the mark of a professional salesperson. You can do it with a McRib. The thing is, people, we have to take care of ourselves. How many people in here has ever had an 8-hour day with nothing but problems in it? How do you feel when you're done? You're going to be exhausted. You're going to be exhausted. And you know why? Because your mind consumes so much energy. You've got to take care of yourself. You've got to keep yourself in shape. How many people in here, if you had a racehorse that was going to run a race tomorrow for $1 million purse, how many people in here would keep the racehorse up till midnight, have it smoke cigarettes, drink beer, and eat Twinkies till 2 in the morning, and then at 8 o'clock the next day go, run, baby, run. Everything I got's on you. You can't do that. You guys wouldn't do it to a $5 dog. Yet we do it to ourselves constantly. You've got to take care of this machine. You've got to keep it in shape so that you've got the energy, you've got the enthusiasm, you've got the confidence that you can use when you're in front of your customers. Take care of yourselves. Most people's physical fitness program consists of Sunday night filling the tub all the way full of hot water, getting in the tub, splashing around, pulling the plug, and then fighting the current to get back out of the tub. You have to have more than that. You have to have more than that. Exercise is important. I tell people you don't have to run, although I know some people who run, although I've never seen a happy runner. That's always interesting. You see them run, you never see a smile. Don't do it. I think it's painful, obviously. I think walking is the best thing you can do for yourself. We do a lot of walking. Walking's good. It's a healthy exercise. It's not hard on your body. My grandmother's a good example of walking. My grandfather passed away when my grandmother was 65, and she decided she wanted to get herself back into shape, and so she started walking. And as she was walking, she didn't do very good at the beginning. She started walking. The first day she went out, and she got a couple of mailboxes and came back, but then she went a little farther, then she went a little farther. Pretty soon she was at a half mile, and then 3/4 of a mile, and then a mile. And then she was at 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, and 5 miles. My grandmother was up to where she was walking 5 miles every day in, day out, 7 days a week. This woman is 87 years old now, 5 miles every day. We don't have a clue where she's at. It's a real tragedy for our family. The key is taking care of yourselves. And physical fitness is an important part of the process. So I challenge you to get yourself back in shape. And don't do it over your lunch hour. I had a salesperson the other day say, well, you know, Bob, I go out and work out a couple hours over lunch hour every day. You're supposed to be working then, right? Do it in the morning, do it in the evening, but take care of yourselves. Exercise and take care of yourselves. And the last thing you need to be planning on is emotional stability. So you have financial, spiritual, physical, and emotional. Now, what is emotional stability? Well, emotional stability is letting people that you're in relationships with know what you're going through. Selling is an interesting business because if you have never been in it and you're in a relationship with somebody who is in it, they don't understand. They don't understand commissions. They don't understand hoping that something happens. I mean, selling is a unique business because even though you know it's going to happen, you never know for sure until it's happened. And there's a lot of ups and downs and emotion with it. And if you're in relationships with people who don't understand sales, you need to help them understand it. I was doing a program a few years ago for an insurance company in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And we were talking about this same thing. And I tell salespeople, you need to sit down once a month with your people you're in relationships with, your family members, if you have a family. You need to sit down and show them and tell them and help them understand what sales is all about. Set some goals for them. Everybody in here would agree that goal setting is important. I'm sure of that. But do you sit down with your family and set goals based upon what you're doing? Do you sit down with people that you're in relationships with and set goals based upon what you're doing? As I was doing this program for the insurance company in Sioux Falls, we were talking a little bit about this. And I said, I sit down once a month with my wife and my 3 kids, and we set some goals. Because if I don't set down goals, I could be speaking, doing things all the time, and their time is important too. And so we sat down and do that because I want my kids to know the importance of setting goals. And if they don't see mom and dad do it, they're not going to do it either. And so we sat down with them, and I sat down and we do a plan for the month. And if they want to go to the zoo, then that's a part of our plan. I was talking to this group of insurance people, and we were talking about the same thing. And this one gentleman, his name was John, walked up to me and he says, you know, I need to do something. He says, when I'm going out in the morning, it's like my family's trying to pull me back in the door. Because he works early morning, late hours. He said it's this constant struggle, this constant battle. I feel like my work is pulling me over here, yet my family's trying to pull me back in over here. And he says it's just a frustration to me. How many people ever felt that way before? I mean, it's like you know you need to spend more time at home, yet you know you got to spend more time at work. It's this constant battle we have. And as you're working with people, it's important to understand that they go through that too. The importance of emotional stability. John said, well, I said, what do you need to do? I said, you need to sit down with your family and let them know that you're moving with them, that you're going in the direction with them, right? That they're coming as part of you. They had a particular contest that was going on that month, and whoever wrote the most apps got a $300 cash prize. And I said, sit down with your family and say, this money's yours if I win. It's yours. And I said, ask them what they want to do with it. And he did that. He sat down on a Saturday morning with his wife and his 2 kids, and he said, honey, what do you want? He says, well, if I win this money, it's yours. What do you want? He said, I want a weekend with me and you and no kids. He said, we could do that. He asked his daughter, what do you want? She wanted a new doll, and his son, John Jr., wanted a new bike. I said, well, what was it like in the Monday morning when you won? He said, it was incredible. He said, instead of everybody at the door going, when are you going to be home, all they were doing was standing at the door going, good luck. Because all of a sudden they knew that if he won, they got what? Commission. See? He set up the parameters for it. He let them understand that they got a part of it too. So emotional stability is important. Set goals for people and let them enjoy, let them get a part of that also. And the last one is, and I think the most important one is take action. It doesn't make any difference, folks, what you do. If what you're doing is not working, then don't keep doing it. I had a young man call me the other day. He says, Bob, I've left 11 voicemails. What do I do? And I says, quit leaving voicemails. Send a telegram. Do something different. Be unique. Be creative. Don't do what everybody else is doing and expect to get the same kind of a success they have. If you're going to be successful, you have to take action. There was 2 gentlemen who developed a science called neurolinguistic programming, John Grinder and Richard Bandler. And there are a couple of people that I've read their books and studied underneath them a little bit, and their saying is this: insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And that's the challenge most people have in life. Most people in life go through exactly the same thing day in and day out, and they wonder why their life doesn't change. If you're going to be successful in life, you have to take action. And if what you're taking an action on is not getting you where you want to be, you have to take a different action. If that's not getting where you want to be, you have to take a different action. The key to being successful in life is taking ideas and concepts and then applying them. And if they don't work, then try something new. And if that doesn't work, try something new again. How many people in here, if we were to walk into this wall back here, and let's say we're going to go back in this hallway behind our wall, I'm going to have you walk into that wall in just a moment. What I want you to do is to walk into the wall as hard as you can. And if you don't get through the wall, I want you to get back in line and do it again. How many people would stand up and do that? None of you would, because you go, Bob, that's insanity. Why don't we just go through the door over there and get in the hallway? Right? How many days, people, do you walk back into the same wall, you do the exact same thing, and you go like, I can't believe it, I'm still not having anything happen here? Well, I'm going to challenge you. You've gone through this series. You've gone through this workshop. And I've given you a lot of ideas and concepts. And most of you, I guarantee you, most of you are going to go back and do exactly what you did before you went through this workshop. Exactly. And you know what's going to happen? You're going to get exactly the same result you were getting before. If you want to be successful, you have to start taking new ideas. You have to take some risks. You have to try some things. Because if you don't take anything new and try it, then you're always going to end up exactly where you were before. If you walk the same path, people, you always end up in the same spot. And that's your challenge. So as we end this, I challenge you to do that. When you leave, when you get up, when you get in your car, when you get on the telephone, you've got to think, what can I do different? What can I try that's going to set me apart, that's going to give me new ideas, that's going to let me try new things? Because as you knock on doors, as you make those phone calls, if what you do is what you did, then expect exactly the same thing to happen in your life. That's your challenge. I challenge you to do that.